looking for something exciting to read while you enjoy some sugary cereal?
Yeah!
Then grab a copy of Mighty Mascots from Alterna Comics! Born from the ashes of a disastrous 3D printing accident, 8 living advertisements have banded together to right the wrongs of this world, led by a former child star. These unlikely heroes are freaks to some, but you will know them as the Mighty Mascots. The miniseries is 3 issues, full color, and printed on glorious newsprint. This is the fun superhero series that you didn't know you needed. Created and written by Keith Gleason, featuring artwork by Ian Morianto and colors by Anton Bondi.
Ahoy, I can't wait for more!
Mighty Mascots is part of your complete breakfast and comic book reading experience. Only from Alterna Comics.
Hey, everybody. It's Thursday. We're back for another bonus episode. My name's Keith Gleason, creator of the Mighty Mascots. With me, as always, my good friend, my sidekick co-host here, Johnny C., creator of Sartana. How's it going, buddy?
Don't adjust your screens. It is Thursday night, but we're still coming at you live.
Yes. Yeah, and the good thing, I guess things are going to start slowing down a little bit going into April. We'll get back on our regular schedule, which would be nice. But we also have some exciting stuff. Like in May, I was already talking on yesterday's show. We're going to do that open mic kind of show where any indie creator out there can come on for 5 minutes and pitch whatever they want, show trailers, pitch their YouTube channel, pitch their comics, So we'll be pumping that soon, So
yeah, absolutely. And you never know what other bonus episodes might pop up. I mean, we're talking to other people who are launching campaigns every day. I believe we spoke to Jared Luhan at one point. He's currently got the Twin Blades campaign happening right now on Kickstarter.
Yeah,
I'm sure we haven't set a date yet, but he might slide in at some point on a bonus episode. So but either way, check out that campaign, Twin Blades Kickstarter right now.
Yeah, definitely. And I also heard from Global Comics again. They're doing something new soon, and they want to come back on the show. So
awesome!
So awesome. So that's one of our favorite digital platforms. So
I actually suggested something to them recently. I don't know if I should talk about it now or not, but
okay.
I feel like there's a feature that they can add that will revolutionize the digital delivery system of PDFs and things of that nature.
Interesting.
I'm trying to convince them to work it into their platform. So
okay,
maybe with a little bit of coercion.
Be a good opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
So tonight's guest is a friend of mine that I've known for, oh my God, at least, I want to say at least 15, 20 years probably at this point. He used to work at the comic store that I worked at for a while, and that's how we met, and we've kind of fallen out of touch over the years, but we reconnected at Comic Cons again recently and everything. And he's doing like a Kickstarter, which looks amazing. But I also want to bring him in, and I also want to talk about the news that dropped today about Diamond
news
Comics.
Today, yeah,
that's
absolutely
huge. Yeah. So without further ado, let's bring in my friend here, Erik Radvon. Hey, Erik.
How's it going? Everybody.
Hey, Erik.
How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to get into the Kickstarter definitely because and congrats on hitting the goal, man. That's fantastic. First time out, killing it, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I fully intended on coming onto this show at like maybe 40% or something, right? And honestly, I've never done crowdsourcing of any kind before. I didn't do any of the like big slick stuff you're supposed to do up front, and it just kind of I just kind of gave it a go, and I really expected to fail and maybe learn some lessons for next time, right? And
now you're like
sort of we'll kind of fall on my face with this one, learn some lessons, and maybe try Indiegogo or something like that. And the thing's taken off, and here we are. We're at like 123% funded now.
Yeah, crazy, dude! Congrats.
So it's really taken fire, and it's been really incredible to see people. We've got a great team here. We were super energized to do this comic and bring it to life, and to have this support and be able to have this platform to get the book out the way we want it to look, the way we want it to feel, and all of that. It's like I'm still processing it. It's mind.
Yeah, dude, it's awesome, and I definitely want to get into all that. I wanted to say hi to Roland, who's in our audience tonight, and of course my wife Amy.
What's up?
Yeah. And I wanted to address this that he just said in the chat. R.I.P. Diamond. So, Johnny, I texted you earlier when I saw the news. What was your first thought about the whole thing?
So so same thing. R.I.P. Diamond. I was like, wow, this is an end of an era.
Yeah, I kind of was like happy about it, actually, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but then I thought, if anything, that maybe this might be an opportunity where they scale back and they become more of a champion for indie books, right? Perhaps.
Well, you hope. I mean, the problem with that Diamond, you probably haven't had any dealings with them, have you, Johnny?
Never. No.
Okay, yeah, and I know, Eric, we were talking a little bit. You have. I have too, on my own when I first did the Hero Envy trade, and they have all kinds of wacky rules over there. I think if any good comes out of this is some of those rules will go away, and like all those wacky, there's like tons of fees that they impose on like comic companies and like creators, and it's just it's a mess. And and you've worked for a comic book store, so like they constantly ship damaged products, and it's just they're a nightmare company.
So that's the other thing too. It's like I feel like crowdsourcing and crowdfunding have made strides, especially with the Berserker thing, right? They've shown that you can fulfill you don't need Diamond anymore per se, right? Maybe Diamond was a process, maybe they had a system in place, maybe that was comfortable for some, maybe some of the things were beneficial in some lights, but I feel like in the modern age, it's like there's a reason why things change. There's a reason why we don't listen to cassette tapes frequently anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like processes change, media types change. So, and I think this is just another aspect of something like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Eric, what is your thoughts on the whole Diamond?
So yeah, I mean, I'm joining you guys on. I think if you've been in the comic book world, this is a pretty seismic news item here. It may not make a lot of sense to folks outside of it, but the distribution of comic books has been, we've all been in this like direct market era since the early 80s, right? And there was a few different distributors. There was that big distributor war in the 90s. Diamond came out sort of victorious from all of that. It's been a long, tangled history, and there's been pros and cons. I mean, I think we all love our local comic shop, right?
Yeah.
And we love that, the Diamond's been the thing that sort of supplies them in a simplistic level. But I certainly miss the days where you could pick up the latest and greatest comics at a 7-Eleven or something. That's how I got most of my comics. And that's what led me to spend more in specialty shops, was that ease of access. So definitely something's been lost there. And with Penguin Random House coming in as Marvel's distributor, I mean, that's a top level book distributor. I mean, I think of things like what Jeff Smith Bone has done by going through Scholastic and the audience that Bone reaches now.
Yeah.
When I talk about comics with anybody under 40 in my family, it's like Dogman and Captain Underpants.
Yeah, and those are like
millions,
huge.
And
like
they're in this whole different world. And I can share with you that I'm both, Keith and I did the retail thing, 20 years ago, and we have experience with that damaged product. Kind of inconsistency, I would say. The store orders 20 copies, you got 7, and that's it.
Right. Yeah.
A monopoly is never really a great business model. We don't really tolerate it anywhere else, but in comics, it's been one of those things that's been tolerated. I know there's a lot of great people that work at Diamond. I think there's a lot of great people that champion comics within Diamond. But I can tell you myself, I submitted a collected edition of an independent book I put together. As Keith said, they have really strong regulated rules. I follow this stuff to the T. I have a background in corporate world and stuff, so it's like I can do it legit, right? So I put together a package. I had a special print run of this thing done just so they could get a sense of what I'm investing in, the look and feel, the page quality and all of that stuff. Sent it in there. It was sent in November of last year, right?
Okay.
It sat there. I didn't hear anything back. Didn't hear anything back. So I reached out to them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're not going to the office anymore because of the pandemic. Can you just send us a digital copy?" Whereas their rules are like, no digital copies at all. Send us only print. So it's like, okay, fine. So I sent them the digital copy, and it's still months later. We're still going back and forth. And again, it's just like it has my personal experience. It just feels wildly inconsistent. And if I'm just one person trying to get my book in their catalog, which I would love to do, and I can't imagine how that's playing up at a higher level with the companies and all the different things, and the nationwide network of retailers. So I think more options is good news. I know a lot of people were beating up DC for doing basically the same exact thing earlier.
Yeah,
and it was kind of like all this negative flack about DC's dead and WB is destroying them and all this stuff. But
a lot of hypocrisy right now because I've seen
and now it's
championing Marvel, and it's
exactly.
DC's the one that had the balls to do this first.
Sort of pulled the Band-Aid off quick. But I think at the end of the day, more choice is good for consumers. It's more flexible. Like Johnny was saying, maybe Diamond really hones in on what they're great at, right? Like maybe I know they do stuff with specialty statues and whatever. Like I'm sure if you're a store owner, having 3 wholesalers to get things from or whatever is probably a good thing. So hopefully it means more choice, and that's better for comics. But yeah, what a day! It's a huge
it's nuts. And
97. So
and I have a very similar story to you when I first submitted the Hero Envy trade to Diamond because I was going direct with Diamond. So many headaches with them. Like I sent it to them and waited months and months, sent them the hard copy like you did, and nothing. Didn't hear anything, and then I had to call them, and someone looked into it, and then like, oh yeah, we rejected that, and I was like, well, was anyone ever going to tell me? Like, and I was like, well, they rejected it because, the price point was too high. And I'm like, I think I was charging like $25 for the book because it was costing me like, I don't know, I want to say around 15 to get it done because I was doing it locally.
Yeah.
So I had to redo it, and that's when I printed overseas and got the price to 15, and they accepted it then. But even then, I had problems with it, like because I wanted to put an ad in the previews, and I didn't get it to them. They didn't tell me when it was due. So when I had the ad ready, I sent it to them. They're like, "Oh, the book's already been printed," and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like, can we push it back another month?" It was just
really tough because I'm sorry. Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I feel like that's a great example of where they had this like evil empire kind of power where they could have, really just like that could have just been somebody's slipped schedule, and then they just said, "Oh, sorry, it was printed already." You know what I mean? That it could have been an oversight that was just written off. Whereas, and then in turn, that builds their their bad reputation, or this again the evil empire idea that some people have about them. Which isn't fully the truth, but you know what I mean.
It's like the registry of motor vehicles, right? If there's only one, you got no other option to go to, you're stuck.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that's tough as an independent creator, right? We're like immersed in the editorial side of things, of just getting these things together, and these are like our hopes, our dreams, our artistic output in this. And then it hits this like wall of like, a shipping dock in New Jersey or whatever, and the organization that goes along with that. So it's a really weird thing to navigate as an independent creator, and then to kind of have all this stuff you've worked on, it just really hit this like kind of like I say, it's a monopoly. So you're totally at the whim, and you're just kind of holding your breath for months. I still have hopes that my book Crisis Vector gets into previews. I've shown it to retailers, and they're like, this looks better, as good if not better than things that we get. There's no reason on a quality level why this shouldn't be accepted. So, but again, it's just you're navigating this really weird bureaucracy there. And
it probably doesn't help that they probably laid off a bunch of people. I don't think I think that's why it's taken longer and longer to get something going with them too.
Yeah, and
that's
COVID,
just going to get worse.
The impacts of COVID and all of that for sure.
Yeah,
so I get it.
Definitely.
But yeah, as seeing this news break, I mean, you know, like it made me kind of understand, like, okay, you know, DC, Marvel. I think like even Dark Horse has gone their own route for quite some time in terms of distribution. So there's a lot of different paths there. And then, yeah, as technology has evolved and everything, it's so much easier to go direct to the audience in a way that you never really could before. You know, 20, 30 years ago, if it wasn't in previews, you wouldn't know it existed. And now it's like we have forums like this, which is phenomenal. So
yeah, and it's funny, like, you know, it's like, why is Kickstarter and Indiegogo better distribution for comics than Diamond? You know what I mean? It's like, it's bizarre.
If I can package it in my attic better than they can, that's your job. It's like, what's going on here, you know?
Well, and I think part of the charm of Diamond is like you know, you get your comic into comic stores. It's like a big deal for creators, you know.
Totally.
It's like that, you know, like that thing. You just want it, like, you feel like you made it. You know what I mean? Like it's part of the thing.
It's validation.
It's validation. Yeah, you know? Exactly. And it's really true though. Now it's like with Kickstarter and Indiegogo, you know that actually whatever you sell is actually going to somebody. You know, versus if you go through Diamond, like stores will order copies, but you never know if they're actually going to a reader or if they're just sitting on a shelf and then put into like a back issue bin later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I like about Kickstarter and Indiegogo over Diamond, you know?
One thing that's appealing about, I think, the Penguin Random House thing in that distribution is you know, I think that for the consumers, for the readers out there, it's going to mean a lot of, you know, potential improvements. I mean, whether they're just in the way they handle the material. I think they're an international publishing house, right? So just the love and care and attention they can give to comics on multiple levels, I think it will be good. And Diamond could still play a really important role there in being this kind of you know, part of that puzzle, you know, between Penguin and the consumer. So I think it's going to be a good thing. I don't know if it's rest in peace Diamond. I think maybe it's rest in peace what's been living from 97 to now, and that's probably a good thing for everybody.
I think so too. Like, I think they're going to have to change and evolve, and that's probably going to mean like a lot of job loss over there, because, you know, if you think about it, they're probably going to have to lay off half of their warehouse, half of their, you know, reps that are, you know, holding accounts, especially with Marvel stuff, and they're probably going to lose accounts with certain comic stores, because we know there's a ton of stores that just order Marvel and DC, and if Diamond doesn't have those, you know, they're going to lose those accounts. So, I mean, they're probably going to have to just learn how to be a smaller company, I think, you know, going forward.
They should champion the little guy now, right? That's really where
so if anything comes out of it, it might be that you might see a little change in attitude towards indie comics, which would be nice, you know?
Right.
I've been waiting for my email today. I was like, man, now they got time for me. Now they want Crisis Vector.
Well, I like what Alterna's doing. They've encouraged us to do like our own Indiegogos and Kickstarters to fund our books, but then they're a backup source to sell the books after the campaigns are fulfilled. So like you can constantly start making a little more money, you know, on back product, you know. So I like that. You know, I think that's a great way to do it now, and, you know, rolling with this future distribution stuff, you know. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what role publishers play in that, right? Where there's kind of, I've been curious about that myself with Lady Darke and everything. How does that dovetail into working with a publisher? You know, you sort of have the Kickstarters, the upfront type of thing, and I guess from a publisher editor, like if you're a comic editor out there, that, you know, you can look at something that's been funded, it has a built-in audience of sorts, so it's kind of a cool change happening on the sort of editorial publishing side.
Kind of like what Boom did with Berserker, right? So like they've pre-funded the hardcover, right? And then now they're releasing the single issues, and it's like they're like making money over money on the same thing, you know. So it's like,
what did you guys think of that issue, by the way?
I loved it. I actually,
I thought it was great. Yeah,
I haven't read it
you don't
yet,
see
yeah.
much action in books nowadays, and I love that it was like 24 pages of action and like 2 of story, you know.
yeah, exactly.
I love that.
I love Ron
totally could
Garney
see
a
it
lot.
being a movie.
So
What's that?
I love Ron Garney's art a lot, and
Yeah,
he
me
got
too.
like a more kinetic style with this book, so I thought that was cool. But yeah, I saw the numbers that Berserker did, and I was just like, note to self: be Keanu Reeves. Like, how to make it in comics.
Funny story. I reviewed the Berserker #1 for this channel, like a couple, whatever week it came out, and I said in the review that I actually wonder how much Keanu Reeves contributed to the book. Like, I thought maybe like it was 10% and Matt Kint was doing the 90% of the work. And I saw that Matt Kint actually commented on the video, and then he went back and deleted it. So he must have... I could see what he wrote. He wrote something like about how like you know, Keanu actually does a lot of work on this, and he's very involved. But he ended up deleting it. But I thought it was funny because I could still see it on.
Oh, that is funny. That's too funny.
But anyway, you mentioned Lady Darke, so yeah, let's get into this Kickstarter. So
Sure.
I know you've done with this might be what, your 5th comic, 6th comic.
So I was looking back on it. I've been creating comics for 10 years now.
That's awesome, dude.
As a writer, I was really contributing to anthologies. That was kind of my primary starting point. So Red Stylo, they published my first work in a Shakespeare Shaken anthologies, and it was so great to just kind of you know, cut my teeth and kind of get into things, and then contributed a bunch of different anthologies. And then I hit this wall where it was like, you know, that's a certain style of writing. It's almost like an assignment type writing, right? Like, here's the theme, make a story that fits into it. And then I started to have these stories that I wanted to tell that I couldn't really retrofit into an anthologies theme. So I started to self-publish some of my stuff. So I started with a 4-page short called Voodoo Bird. I did with Rob Cronenberg's on art, a little 4-page black and white thing. And then the next one was 16 pages. And then I did Crisis Vector, which was going to be like a one-shot, and it turned into a trilogy. So, you know, I started with a 4-page black and white short, and all the way ended up to this like 90-page full-color time-traveling epic.
Yeah, I love it.
And then a bunch of anthology stuff in between then. So,
and that's the book you're trying to get through Diamond too right now.
It is, yeah.
Like,
I published it was three issues, and then I collected it into a trade. Hold on 1 second. Can I step off camera for a second? I'll grab it.
Yeah, go for it. Me and Johnny will keep it going. Yeah, so Johnny, you read the first issue of Crisis Vector, correct?
Read the first issue of Crisis Vector. I wish I had more time to read more of it because I was.
It's good though, right? You want to go back to it? Yeah.
So good, totally hooked. Yes, awesome. The hook at the end of the first episode, or I'm sorry, the first issue was amazing. I loved it so much.
I'm doing this right. It's not. I can't do this. Yeah. There you go. But yeah, full color. It's a pretty nice.
Hold it up to the camera. Let's see it again.
Yeah. Hold on. There we go.
All right. Perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I have the PDF you sent me. I actually, hang on. Let me pull it up because I want to show some of the artwork from it. You know.
Yeah.
Diamond,
the artwork was great.
Crazy,
Too. Gorgeous work.
What's that?
Gorgeous artwork. I loved it. It reminded me a little bit of Grant Stoy, who's a prior guest. His side quest a little bit in that regard. I want to read issue 2 so bad now that I know what happens at the end of issue 1. Like, it's just it's you blew. So that's the thing too. It's like, oh, this is a pretty cool story. You know, like, and I thought it was kind of like, okay, this is the world this is the realm that it is in. And that's not really too much of a spoiler, but you blow things so wide open on the last, part of the story. It's just so awesome. I love that. There's great storytelling.
Oh, thanks so much. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, there's definitely it's not quite M. Night Shyamalan, but it's in that territory where there's a twist at the end, and then that you see that really evolve in issues 2 and 3. So issue 2 takes you to a whole nother place, a whole nother time, and then issue 3 kind of brings it all back home in a really cool way. So it's a passion project. It means a lot to me. It's one of those things that, like, it's not your average comic book fare. It's not superhero, I guess is what I should say. It starts off this kind of sword and sorcery kind of thing, right? The second issue is sort of, I would say, cyberpunk. It's like a Final Fantasy VII type thing, and then issue 3 is everything in the kitchen sink together. But you know, in 10 years of doing comics, I had never really done a superhero story, and Crisis Vector included. You know, so Lady Darke is really my first attempt at a superhero. And you know, Keith and I, like we've grown up in comics, right? And I've had the comic bug my whole life, and I love all kinds of different comics. I love, you know, black and white indies. I love, you know, some of the more cerebral stuff, but I still really love superhero comics as well. And with Lady Darke, what I was trying to do here is one, create a character. It was really this singular character-driven thing where, you know, Laura Lennox, Lady Darke, she just sort of came to me fully formed, and then really kind of tapping into this that kind of excitement, like when you would pick up a new superhero thing, like whether it's Spawn #1 or something like that. That's sort of, hey, this is the start of something new. You know, we're kicking off on a new adventure, a new mythology, something that's going to kind of enter this pantheon of great comics that we've enjoyed over the years. Now, I'm not professing to put myself on a pillar next to Todd McFarlane or anything like that, but that's the inspiration here.
But yeah, you're using him as like, inspiration. Yeah, it's great. I love the artwork so far. Now, is this the same artist that did Crisis Vector?
Yeah, so Crisis Vector,
he's really good.
I had Samir Samal. He did issues 1 and issues 3 of Crisis Vector, and then I had a great artist, Ross Taylor, who did issue 2 of it because issue 2 had a different look and feel. But Samir is back to do Lady Darke with me, and I really love Samir's style. He has this like energetic style that, again, it kind of harkens back to that like 90s thing, but without it being like an overtly, it's not camp. You know what I mean? It's like he's really he works old school, you know, pen and paper, and so he's sending me the production art, and it's like he's going all out with his drawings in there and everything, and I really love the energy he brings to it. And so he's back for Lady Darke, and super excited to have him on board. And then Rob Cronenberg, who I've done you know, a few other comics, he does art, but he also is a colorist, and a really great colorist. And in fact, we met because he colored a story that I wrote for an anthology, and he's doing the colors for it. Awesome. And then I have Micah Myers, who he's been my letterer on like every book I've done, and so he'll be doing the lettering, and he created our great Lady Darke logo. So I always say that my comics don't feel real until I get those lettered pages back from Micah, and just something about that lettering, it's like, this is a comic now, you know? Which is pretty
no, I agree.
Wonderful. He's such a good letterer.
And I've said that many times. It's good that you realize too that you need a good letterer to kind of bring a comic to life, because I agree 100%. Like, lettering is like that one linchpin with a comic. If you have bad lettering, it just makes the comic not as good. You know?
It makes it look amateurish, like, big time, right away, and it makes it look super professional right away. There's no thin line. There's no like the lettering's okay. It's like either pro or not.
Yeah, and, exactly. It's either good or it isn't. Yeah.
Micah Myers and Justin Birch, 2 indie comic lettering darlings. If you see those names in the book, then you can guarantee that the lettering is quality.
Yeah,
quality product.
Nice.
Yeah. And this looks great, Eric. Can you tell us a little bit of the plot behind it?
Yeah. So Laura Lennox, she's it's kind of like this fish out of water story. She's a senior in high school. She lives in this kind of dilapidated Victorian mansion on the outskirts of town. She's got a little bit of a weird air about her. So if you think about like some of the protagonists in like a Tim Burton movie or something, so you know, her clothes might look a couple decades out of fashion, or there's just some oddness to her. You know, there's a scene in the lunchroom where one of her friends is getting a slice of pizza, and she's eating like a single, you know, hard-boiled egg on a cup or something. So she's kind of got like some quirkiness there, and you come to find out this is because she lives with a family that's kind of you know, she has a very offbeat family. I don't want to give anything away with that, but so what you have is a mix, I would say, in the plot of like real high octane action and adventure. So the issue kicks off with the classic fight in an alley, right? You have Laura as a young hero who she's taken up this mantle. The Lady Darke name is actually like it's a persona that's handed down generationally through her family. So she's had this mantle thrust upon her at a pretty young age. So she's navigating how to sort of deal with these powers that she has and these abilities. And so what happens is there's an ancient evil that's being awakened here, and that her family is sort of the guardians of keeping this thing at bay. And that's going to be the big conflict she has while being a high school student and everything else going on. So if you picture something like Spawn or Witchblade mixed with some of the sensibilities of like Ultimate Spider-Man, you have a good sense of the energy that will be going on in Lady Darke.
Oh, that sounds great. I like that mixture of stuff too.
Spawn, Witchblade. I definitely got vibes from just that image alone. And I love that you reference her as a character from a Tim Burton movie, because I immediately think of like Lydia from Beetlejuice, or you know what I mean, that kind of. And you can totally understand in the tone and the vibe of that character. I love that too.
Penny Dreadful comes to mind. If you guys there's some vibes of that going on.
Dean Morris said that it sounds cool.
Yeah, Wednesday Addams if she was a superhero kind of thing. I like
totally.
That.
That's a very good way to put it. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thank you, Amy, as well. Thank you.
Yeah. We're both fans, Eric. Everything you're giving me to read, Amy's read as well and enjoyed.
Thanks so much.
I love that the Kickstarter number went up in the middle of the broadcast.
I saw that,
which
is
cool. Nice.
Yeah. Oh, did it really? Oh,
it
perfect.
Did. Yeah, it's spiked just a little bit.
Thank you so much. So,
Eric, the shocking thing about this, like what you were saying earlier too, about how like you were kind of prepping for failure.
Big time
on this, and
I'm not just saying that. Honestly,
when I first looked at the campaign, the first thing that struck me, I was like, "Oh, he doesn't have a video," and that I know is like a kryptonite to a campaign. If you don't have a video. But I'm happy that this trended in the other direction. I think this is great that you have 14 days to go, and now you're thinking stretch goals now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're thinking of, we just want it to be a really great experience for all the readers and everyone who's pledged for their, so, every cent of this is going into the production.
Awesome.
And so whatever we can do to make we're starting to brainstorm, even the packaging that this arrives in, right? We want it to be a really cool experience if you open a box and there your comic is or whatever. So one of the things we're doing is a platinum cover. So I've worked with my printer and we've got like a straight up metallic platinum cover that will be one of the things there. So I'm really big on that. In this day and age, it's like, our lives are increasingly digital, and that's all fine and dandy. But if you're spending the money and supporting something that's a physical product, I really want that tactile experience to be as good as possible. And yeah, man, you mentioned like I had no video. So there's so many good comic Kickstarters going on right now. And like you look at these things and they've got like all kinds of graphics, video production, email lists they've been building up for 6 months, and I had none of that. And that was just my own. I just kind of jumped into this too quickly, and as soon as I was just kind of going through it, and then all of a sudden the thing was basically live, and I was like, "Oh gosh, what have I done?" Type of thing. And but people have really there's something about this character that people have really gravitated to, and I'm getting.
Yeah, like the stuff you're saying about Spawn and Witchblade, I think people, and especially with like Spawn 300, like when that came around, the excitement again for like something that's just been around all this time, put like a real excitement back on Todd McFarlane again, and now he's starting the whole Spawn universe stuff. I think you're kind of riding a little bit of that excitement again, which is good. I mean, you timed this, I think, perfectly. If you ask me, like I think you just hit the people that are hungry for this kind of a superhero story. and there's not a lot of this nowadays. You know, I think Spawn, I mean, is still around, but what else? I mean, Witchblade's not around anymore, really, right? Or
So that's one of the surprising things to me too, is that like a comic like this, there isn't an abundance of it, either
no,
from the
there
big
isn't.
publishers or even some of the smaller things. And like a lot of indie comics will take, you know, I always say like, you know, so many, you go to a comic show and a lot of the indie comics, it's like, you know, it's about a dude and his girlfriend at Denny's having heartfelt conversations. And I love that stuff all day long. But like, you know, I've always said like, okay, if I'm going to make an indie comic that's like, you know, you open the page and you hear like air guitar hit your face, and then it's like Ladydarke and stuff, and you know, and that's kind of what I've gone here is sort of, you know, but we're not doing it ironically either, and I think that's the thing that people really tap into.
People see through that immediately.
Exactly, and we're not doing that. Like we're doing this because we love that style of storytelling.
Yeah, and I know you legit love this stuff because you used to talk about it all the time.
Yeah,
bro, you had me at metallic cover.
Nice. Nice. Yeah,
we might have to talk offline about that one because that's something I've wanted to do for a while.
Totally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can share it with
you doing that, Johnny, with like a Sartana or something.
Well, so the Clark and Five project that never was. That
oh yeah,
I wanted to have a chrome cover on it with the logo stamp. And
cool.
I talked to everybody about it, and they're like, "Oh, it's a little tough to do this and that, blah blah blah." So I'd love to get that inside track on that.
Absolutely, man. I will definitely share what I found out there and stuff. And it's, you know, it's a premium tier, I would say, thing, but it's just a cool option to have, and that's the kind of thing that I definitely am excited to bring to readers. And one of the things that's really struck me on this, and again, it's like the stories I've written in the past, they've been like a little esoteric, a little weird. It's been like, you know, like horror, sci-fi kind of stuff. With this, with the hero's journey, it's just a completely different ballgame. And I've had folks reach out to me and say, "Hey, I'm really excited about this. I have a young daughter, and we're going to read this together. And I want to go on this character's journey for years with my kid and all that." And that just kind of, it blows you away, right? Because you're right here as a creator, you know, just sort of doing this thing. And then you realize, you know, to have that kind of thing resonate with folks on the other side of the fence is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've seen some stuff with Mighty Mascots with, you know, fathers sharing it with their sons. Like there's if anyone cares to look, there's if you go on YouTube, there's a review of a guy, he kind of dresses up like Captain America, and him and his son reviewed the book, and it was like, I was tearing up like watching the review because they both loved it. And it's like, my God, my comic, you know, got to these, and they, you know, they bonded more over it. It's like, it's the weirdest, you know, it's crazy.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Yeah. Sometimes we're so caught up in the creative process, and then again, that business side hits to it as well, and that becomes a whole thing. And that's really what it's all about at the end of the day, is we want to create stories and share it with people. And I don't know about you, Keith and Johnny, but for me, I feel the Lady Darke thing, it almost arrived all at once. You know, to me, it almost feels like I'm just a conduit sometimes for this stuff, you know, which is pretty amazing. So I'm the first one to be kind of like, you know, I don't even claim to take full credit for something that I've created, because it comes from somewhere else, I feel like, and it's kind of a weird.
I agree. Johnny,
Eric,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, Eric, you couldn't have hit the nail so much more in the head. Sometimes, like, and you said this a little bit before too, with like assignment writing, right? I find it much more difficult if somebody's like, you write this story, it has to fall under these guidelines, this and that. Unless I have that divine inspiration of something that would fit in that guideline, I have a very tough time writing that script and that story. Not to say that I can't, it's just I find it much more difficult than when I have like this divine inspiration for a character, and then it's almost like the muse takes over, and then, you know, I'm in autopilot, just putting the words on paper.
I mean, I think that's with every writer, right? You get that idea, and it's like, quick, I got to get to a pad, or, you know, like, pull up your notes section on your phone, and like, you need to write it down, or, you know.
And I loved hearing that this character is originated from that type of inspiration. That even more so, I think, makes it a a book I'd want to follow and a book that's valuable to me, because I know it came from specifically that for you.
Well, thanks so much. Yeah, and I think Laura's story is going to be one that people really, really enjoy. That it's a very human story, and I think there's going to be a lot for folks to sink their teeth in there, and we're going to have a lot of fun along the way too. There's going to be surprises. There's going to be tons of action. There's going to be kind of cool supernatural stuff. There's a character that I have scheduled to show up in issue 3 that I think is going to become a fan favorite. So I'm really excited to bring this world to life.
Awesome. So this is for the first issue. How do you have a whole like series planned around it?
So yeah, I've tried not to get too ahead of myself, but this first issue is part 1 of 5. So it's kind of a kickoff story. It's called Dark Beginnings, dark beginning at the end. And so it's Dark Beginnings part 1 of 5, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Yeah, I mean, I think there's plenty of opportunity to take it. I think one of the cool things that I've been noodling with a little bit, I'm still very much focused on issue 1 and bringing that to life. But this idea of the Lady Darke mantle being this multi-generational thing, there's, you could see like a Lady Darke 1865 or
I love that
9 or something. There's kind of there to play with, so that could be kind of cool.
That reminds me of the Phantom a little bit, right?
Yeah,
exactly,
I love when they do that.
Exactly, some of that. Could I share some preview artwork with you guys?
Yeah, of course,
please.
Yeah. Before we do that, one thing we forgot to ask you at the top of the show, because we got into the diamond stuff. We always ask our guests, like, was there a specific comic or like show or something that when you saw when you were younger that kind of put you on the path to wanting to make comics? Was there like a specific thing?
So yeah, that's a great question. It's weird because I think like I read comics. I'm one of these people that like it's always been comics for me. Like my mom says I was reading comics before I could read. For some reason I just loved comics, and I would flip through them and she'd be like, "Are you reading that?" I'm like, "Well, I'm just kind of following the panels." And so it's just one of those things. It's just been in my DNA, and it's never let me, it's never let go of me. I think the turning point to being like, this is something I want to do probably came from Grant Morrison stuff. Was the real thing where I felt like, okay, this is like he reached through the panel and kind of grabbed me by my teenage throat a little bit, shook me around, and I don't know if it was necessarily like anything in particular of his that made me want to make comics, but it was this idea that I don't know, that comics could be this kind of like magical thing, and so I think that was a big inspiration to kind of look at it seriously. And look at it as something more direct and personal. And, I would really like, I love reading, whatever, Captain America or something. But for me, that was something that came on from New York City down to me.
Yeah.
Whereas Grant Morrison stuff, it felt like this dude is like in my brain right now through this guy left Scotland and is in my brain in Fitchburg.
And the thing I always loved about Grant Morrison is the way he could do the most, mind fuck of a comic, to excuse my French, but then also he would just go on Justice League and turn out a brilliant run on Justice League. You know what I mean? Exactly. Like that's the one thing I liked about he was so versatile as a writer. He could do all
totally
these different things.
The real love for the medium too. And it's like it's not just like to deconstruct things. I think you have to really love them first, and he definitely falls into that bucket.
Yeah, definitely.
It's funny. There's two things you can define a comic reader by. It's like who their favorite character, what characters they follow or read, and what writers they follow, right? Because I found myself reading writers where I don't normally read the character, but because that writer's doing the book, I'll pick it up. You know what I mean? And vice versa.
Yep. And it's still the same to this day with me.
I'm a talent person. I follow the talent over the characters. There's very few. I'm not like one of these people who has like one character I've honed in on. It's really the talent involved in it. If John Byrne wrote Captain Carrot, book, I'd be on it tomorrow.
You'd be on that.
For me, I'm a writer, but I feel like I'm a frustrated artist at heart because I really, and that's part of the reason why I like doing this. And part of the inspiration to do the Kickstarter here is I really love working with artists and bringing together, you know, a team of artists and working with them. To me, it's just a huge thrill and a huge honor to see that come to life.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy
the
that.
other thing too. I mean, you look at it right now, Eric. Your comic is going to 150 different people. You know, isn't that like amazing and mind blowing?
It's pretty wild. Yeah.
If you think about like on that level.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
You know, so yeah, definitely share your screen. Let's take a look.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I just wanted to give your audience here a special sneak peek at some.
Oh, that'd be great.
So,
Exclusive.
Yeah, exclusive. We love exclusives.
So I'm going to.
And great advice by Jeff Holman in the chat. Just follow your heart where it wants to take you. There are no presets. Love it.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Jeff. And then a shout out to my buddy Dan Gallagher, who I went to Kubert School, and Dean Morris joining
Dean
us.
Morris.
Yeah,
Yep, absolutely.
A couple new faces in here tonight.
We're missing Ara tonight.
No, Ara's in here.
Oh,
I
is
saw him
he?
earlier.
Cheers, Ara. Thanks for
there you go,
popping in. Yeah,
This is the artwork.
there
Looks
he is. Yeah, that artwork does look awesome. I just backed the campaign.
Awesome. Can you zoom in a little bit, Eric, or no?
Sure. Let me try. Actually, can I?
If you can't. Actually, we can do this. I can make it bigger.
Oh,
there
wait.
we go. There we go. Oh yeah, this looks. Can you start at the top and scroll down? Let me take
sorry, I don't know what this.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, but here's the look at page 1. Not lettered yet, so there'll be some narrative
looks
going
good,
on
though.
here. But again,
With the rain. It's a classic Spawn setup with the rain.
Exactly.
Hanging around near the. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
We all know it. We all love it.
Is that going to be a cover, or is that an interior?
No,
page?
this is page 2 of the book, actually.
Oh,
So
awesome.
you're looking at page 1 and page 2.
I get
Dude,
a
this
little
looks good.
I get
It
a little
looks really
early
good.
TMNT vibes too, like that. That
It
kind
does
of
look
like
a little like Eastman's
noir,
artwork.
gritty kind of. You know what I mean? That little bit of
Yeah.
that. Oh, yeah.
You know what's funny? I've heard that from a few people who've read Crisis Vector. They said there's something about this that gives me Ninja Turtle energy, even though there's no
I think it's the line work your artist does.
Maybe,
it's very
yeah.
Eastman,
love
very
it.
Eastman and Laird look.
It's great because that's a huge inspiration, to me. I mean,
big time for me too with Mascots. Like the tone of Mascots is inspired exactly by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Beautiful
especially
art.
their stuff.
Here's
this looks good, man.
This is an early piece of concept art that we did. This is also by Samir, and this is kind of the main art that we've been running with that folks will see all over the place. So you can see her mace here is actually this energy charge thing, and she has a set of magical abilities at her disposal that manifest in different ways. We'll be exploring that. So you'll see cool stuff. And she doesn't understand them all yet, so some of them will come as surprises and when she least expects it. And this is a variant cover.
Awesome.
So this is from an artist, Alice M, based in Canada, and really love their stuff. And kind enough to jump aboard here and do a concept cover. And
you know what that looks like? What's his name's Hawkeye run? Matt
Fraction.
Matt Fraction. Doesn't that look like a cover from the Hawkeye run?
It totally does. I love it.
It might just be the colors, but I think the figure too and everything.
A little bit of that vibe. I have those books somewhere here.
Yeah, I really liked her color work here, and I love working with artists. And you'll see a huge variety. One of the things I used to love about like the old Image books is you would get an issue of like Spawn or Pit, and there would be pinups in the backs from like Sam Keith or whatever, right? Yep. Wide variety of artists, and that's kind of part of the energy I've been bringing to this too. Just inviting a lot of artists who I love, and one of the cool things is, this Lady Darke thing is outside of a lot of their normal, their normal subject matter. And it's been really cool that see some of them are so excited. Like, oh, I never really get to draw stuff like this. This is really fun. So
yeah, that's awesome. Cool. I think people are hungry for this kind of story again, like, is this more pages?
Yeah. So this is a world premiere right here just for your audience. And you can see this right off Samir's board, but this is a page.
Wow.
Kind of classic alley fight here. So we've got somebody being robbed up front by some ne'er-do-wells, and then ne'er-do-wells flopping in. And, you got your Crocodile Dundee. This is a knife. This is a knife. And on this panel, I've been writing in Marvel style with my artist, which is really cool. And I think for me, it makes makes the end result a more cohesive comic. But
now Marvel style is when you just give them the plot of the page, correct?
Exactly. Like,
and you don't give them any panel descriptions or how many panels it should be, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
I'll do a rough outline of some of the panel stuff, but I don't include any of the story stuff, like the dialogue or any of that yet.
Okay.
I do that separately, and then what I'll do is when the pages come in, I'll sort of reconcile my script against the artwork and make changes. And in my experience, this makes it like a really tight comic, and not that sort of illustrated screenplay kind of vibe that you get from a lot of comics.
Actually, that's very good, because I always tell, like, Johnny's probably sick of hearing it, but I always tell writers, learn how to letter, because then you can George Lucas the hell out of your script at the end when you get the artwork in it, because sometimes your dialogue sucks 6 months later, or the art doesn't quite come in like how you want it, but you can kind of fix it with a dialogue tweak,
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that just makes a better output for the reader. But in this last panel here, I wrote, Lady Darke's going to say something cool, like just as a note.
Yeah. And what were you going to say, Johnny?
I was just going to say that's a little bit of how me and Jared worked on Advent Dark, because I stepped into the story at issue 2. And there was kind of like an overall structure there, but I very much had credence to be able to put a little bit of imprint on it through the dialogue and through other things. And I thought that was really cool. And like, I see that happening here. I totally love the use of the Marvel style in that regard.
Yeah. I like this page too.
So this is a variant. This is another variant cover.
Another variant cover. Okay.
Yeah. So this comes from an artist called Wilnar. That's a pen name. I'm not going to share the real name, but I'll say this is somebody who is a pretty famous cartoonist. Has done some really amazing work, and it's I was telling my wife, this is like Rembrandt drawing an issue of like All-Star Squadron or something. So it's one of those like real like cross connecting here, but super happy to have Wilnar on board, and I really love this piece. It's got a very it's got like a Daredevil Born Again /
Batgirl
to it.
So, I like the hands too, kind of like protecting their face because they're about to get laid out.
Exactly. About to get Lady Darke. So that's it. Some good.
What's shocking too is I was surprised to see that name wasn't taken. Did you look around to see did you Google around to see if that someone was using that name?
I think I did initially, and I didn't find anything. And then I think I threw the extra E on the end. Again, that's just the way it came to me, and was joking around. Like I mentioned the concept to somebody, and they were like, "Oh, please tell me it's spelled weird somehow." And I'm like, "There's an extra E at the end." They're like, "Perfect, that's great. That's exactly what it should be." So the name was not taken as far as I could tell.
Wow, that's awesome. That's fantastic. And I gotta say, for anyone on the fence, the price is right. $10 to get in on the print version of this. I think that's perfect price range for something like this. How many pages is it going to be?
So the initial script for issue 1 is 21 pages, so standard story length. But I always love to add a lot of material, so you'll get some pinups. And, I think I'll probably end up adding a page or two to the story now, because we had a few pledge tiers that involved incorporating the likeness of a person into the book. And so we actually got way more of those than I anticipated. So I think I need a page or two to do that justice. Yeah, exactly. And get folks in there. And then there may be some backup stuff we're doing and things like that. We've got a backup. Wilnar is actually going to be doing a backup story for issue 2. So a nice, probably 6 or 8 page interlude kind of story. So I think, I think the first issue will either be a 28 or 32 page product at the end of the day. So,
that's cool. And then if you make more money, you could actually build that into a stretch goal. Like if you hit, what are you at right now? Let's see, you're at what, 7,000? You're 7,500. You could say it if we hit 8, I'll add 4 more pages of story, or something like that. You could always do that, or
that's a great idea. What's funny, Keith? As I logged into Kickstarter to set this up, I've backed maybe, I don't know, between 12 and 20 projects or something over the years. My first Kickstarter was Hero Envy. That's why
Was it
I
really?
created a Kickstarter account, was to back Hero and
That's
be back
hilarious.
in the day. So it was pretty
Awesome.
cool to get in
Yeah,
there.
that is really cool. Because when I was doing that, Kickstarter was barely, I think, in business for like 4 months at that point. No one, I remember trying to get people to do it, and they're like, "What the hell's Kickstarter?" You know?
It's a scam. Yeah, yeah. And you were a trailblazer on that thing. You were.
I know.
Awesome.
I actually prefer Indiegogo now. So and I think the differences are minor. Like both platforms are very similar to each other, but I think the one reason I like Indiegogo better than Kickstarter is when someone backs your project, they pay the money right then and there when they back it. The danger with Kickstarter is they'll back it, but they don't take the money until you hit your goal and the time is up. And sometimes you lose sales that way because all of a sudden the credit card's no good and they have to chase them for it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, I my last Kickstarter, I think I lost like $60 to $100 just in sales because when they went to collect, the person ghosted, Kickstarter basically, so.
Yeah, that's what I was telling folks. Like, it was really awesome to hit 100%, but with 15 days left in the campaign, that attrition thing is totally real. There's people who will change their pledge for whatever reason.
Yeah, you've got a buffer
now,
which is good. I think that'll cover you no matter what.
Exactly. So I really appreciate that. And it was funny. I did a video update saying thank you to everybody for getting us to 100%. Right after I did that, somebody canceled like a big pledge and knocked us down to 99% again. And
that always happens.
But now we're above the fold, and I think we're in a really good spot, which is great. And I'm really excited to see what we can do in the last 2 weeks here, and hopefully more and more people discover it and kind of join the adventure here with us. And
I have still to back it, so I'm gonna be on. I'll be jumping on board too.
Awesome, thanks, man.
No problem. I believe in you, and I know you're going to write a kick-ass story. So
I kind of feel like it's been you learn something with every project, right? And I feel like this was really the culmination of kind of everything I've done in comics to date, and I'm really excited to bring this one into reality and get into people's hands.
That, and I'm excited to see you do something in the superhero genre, because I've seen your other stuff, and I really loved Crisis Vector.
Oh, thanks.
And now I want to see what you do with a superhero, property.
It's been really cool. It's been feeling like it's like, man, I've been like a student of this game my entire life, so it's like I'm just drawing in everything and just really having a blast doing it. And then you kind of hit like a certain beat or something and just keep referring back to the masters and the things that I love and getting different kind of, ideas and creative bursts from all of that. So it's been really cool to jump into this superhero thing.
Yeah, definitely. It looks great. So if anyone's watching, just take a look at the perks. You can get variant covers. You can get in on this. If you want digital, you can get in on this project with $5.
I noticed that the platinum's very limited. So for the collectors out there, like I jumped on the platinum. I thought that was the coolest, perk for my tastes. But that's something that's very limited. Sometimes these platinum perks, things like that, you'll see them on shelves for hundreds of dollars. They're indie books, but they are of significant value.
Yeah, definitely. The platinum one, we really wanted to create something that was super premium and had that sort of exclusive feel for those collector folks out there. So we've got all kinds of cool variant covers. We've got Priscilla Petretes, who's a Brazilian artist. She's done work for Rat Queens at Image and
cool.
DC.
I've heard of that book.
She just did this really cool book called Chariot from AWA. That kind of it's sort of like a Knight Rider kind of story. She did the illustration for that, so she's an awesome artist, and she'll be doing a cover. We've got this guy Will Kirkby. He does this sort of he does like really cool like fantasy D&D style art. He just did a great cover for Critical Role. That whole He did an awesome cover, so he's doing a cover for us. So we've got a pretty wide selection of art. If variant covers are your thing, we've got the platinum cover, like Johnny was saying, for if you're kind of into that sort of collector's thing. We've got some good bundles that Has all the bases covered. We've had a few folks go for stuff that includes all the stuff I've done before, all our Radical Visions previous stuff. So you get Crisis Vector and Voodoo Bird, all of that. So a pretty wide selection there. And yeah, you can get started for as low as $5 if you just want like the super high quality digital version to read on your tablet or phone.
Yeah, awesome. And then what is your plans? Do you have any plans for this book after Kickstarter? Like, are you going to pitch it to some small publishers, or are you going to wait and see what happens with Diamond, with Crisis Vector and all that?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of up in the air right now, and there's like this seismic change going on in the industry as I'm starting to put all this stuff together. But I think I would love Lady Darke to find a home at a publisher. I think it's that caliber of thing, and I think it's already got so much excitement behind it that it would be really cool to see it kind of land a spot in a publisher. So I have a few in mind that I've been talking to that have passed over on other projects, but maybe this would be up their alley. So I guess TBD on that. The
cool.
Kickstarter thing has been such a surprise, honestly, that it's really rekindled my passion for making comics. And if issue 1, I think is positioned to be in a really good spot and to be a success. And if I can go through this and, I'm doing the creative, but then also the production, and then I'll be doing the distribution and everything. Yeah. If I can knock all that out here on issue 1, I may just do the same thing for issue 2 and keep this going. But a publisher would be great too, just to widen the net even further and get all this going even more.
I agree. And the trend I'm starting to see is people that kickstart their first book, when they come back to do the second one, their audience is growing, which is the exact opposite of what's happening in comic stores.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you've been there. Like, people buy the number 1, and then you get about half the people come back for number 2. And plus stores don't help because they buy a ton of number 1s, and then they'll say they buy 50 number 1s, then they buy 20 number 2s. It's like, how do you grow the audience? It's like you're shrinking the audience right there, It's
even for the biggest books, right? You can have like a top selling Marvel or DC book with top talent on it, and issue 1, it's like 170,000. Issue 2, it's like 48,000, or whatever.
Yeah, it's crazy. But we're seeing evidence that if you build your audience this way, your books are growing by the issue.
I've noticed that as I've seen some of the other, it says like, here's some other comic Kickstarters, right, on, suggestions or whatever. And I've seen some of these folks are in like, we're doing issue 4, and they're at, they're raising, $40,000 or something off of a $3,000,
Look
goal.
at Palmiotti and Justin Gray. They're fucking killing it on Kickstarter with their books are coming back stronger the next time around. It's
really
nuts.
cool.
It really is. I think this is a whole, I think this is the future, honestly, to tell you the truth, depending on what happens with Diamond. I think as long as we got Kickstarter and Indiegogo, I think comic creators are going to be fine.
All we need is hoverboards. Just still waiting on hoverboards.
Yeah. Exactly. What were you going to say, Johnny?
No, I was just going to say before about people growing their audience through the social platforms is our previous guest, Jeff Ryder. Last week or the week before or whatever, same thing. He actually doubled from Major Homes, the first Kickstarter to the second one. Double the audience, double the amount of the Kickstarter.
So good.
I'm telling you, as long as you deliver the product in a timely manner, and it's not like 4 years late, and you give the audience the confidence in you, you're good. I think but if you burn that bridge, then that's another story.
Exactly. Yeah. So no, I feel really good where I've got my team in place. I've got a printer that I've been working with for a long time. I really like them. And I'm super excited to bring kind of all this experience to bear for the audience with Lady Darke. I think it's going to be a really awesome experience, and folks are going to love getting this book in the mail. They're going to really enjoy it.
One thing I can suggest to you for shipping, Eric, get those. They're called Gemini mailers.
Oh yeah,
they come
in those. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting to look into the shipping stuff on my campaign, and I invested some of the money into it, like they're called Dymo printers, where you get a stamps.com account, you can print out the full label with the postage on it. It's like a lifesaver as far as like, this kind of stuff goes.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
then get like a scale to weigh it all,
Yep.
and I already told my audience, like, once I start fulfilling, I'm gonna commit to like 20 or 30 packages a week, and that's it. I don't want to kill myself fulfilling this thing, but I also want to make sure that I'm constantly shipping stuff, until it's all done,
That's what I'm eyeing as well. Like as the, my goal right now is just like, let's see the campaign of the Kickstarter home. We have 14 days left, and then, I'm already starting to think about all the distribution stuff. But exactly right. I think they'll go out in waves, where I've put the shipping date as December 2021, and the art may come in before then. But I think that's a pretty safe bet, considering.
I think that's reasonable. Like how quick is your artist? Does you usually do a page every week or so, or
something like that? Yeah. And I think it depends on the page, and it depends. And he's also doing the penciling and inking, so it's a lot on him. So. But I think we'll be in full-on production throughout the summer. I think we'll have finished pages coming together and assembling the book, probably August, September, and then we'll look to printing, shipping, distribution, all that in the latter half of the year. So it should be good. So it should be Lady Darke for Christmas, and then maybe bleeding over into early 2022.
Awesome.
Cool.
And then probably springtime before you start thinking about the second one, or
yeah, I think that's about right. Yeah, and I think what's cool is having this platform of support, right? It gives you a little bit more confidence in spending the time and effort in writing that script out and everything else, knowing that this isn't something that's going to sit in a drawer, that there's folks out there who want it and are hungry for it. I'm really looking forward to bringing that to everybody.
Yeah, definitely. I'm happy for you. I'm glad that the campaign hit, and I'm glad it's still going, man. I think, I honestly think you could top out at 10 on this.
Oh man, again, every and that's part of it. I don't even think I've fully processed it yet. In terms of that, because it's my goal was just to kind of get this thing to 100%. And I honestly, and I'm not just saying this, I really, truly did not believe that was going to happen. And, just based on everything I read about a successful Kickstarter campaign, I was like, yep, I did none of that. So I was a little skeptical of it.
Well, you give hope to people that do the same thing, I guess,
Yeah, exactly. But, we'll see where things land at the end of these 14 days. And then I think that's when a lot of the cool work will begin on my side, in terms of really honing in on the specifics of print quality, whatever I can do to up the ante for the reader and give them the best product possible. All of this is going to be going into that. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, definitely. You can come up with a ton of like cool little stretch goals. I think with this, you can do prints, you can do stickers,
Yep.
Magnets, this is the sky's the limit. Think like flat items, because it's going to be easier to ship stuff, if you think, like
that's a good idea. Not like a action figure yet, because that gets into like a package type material. So yeah,
exactly. And one thing I learned from this Kickstarter that the Indiegogo I just did, I definitely don't want to do anything again that I have to put together. Because me and Amy have been putting button sets together and like sticker sets, and like she's so sick of me right now.
Your living room's like a sweatshop. You guys are
pretty much. Like I'm not gonna never do that again. Everything that I order for future is gonna be stuff that's already done, comes to me finished. So that's something to learn.
Sweatshop workers like smoking. Some guy's got a pistol.
No breaks.
Pretty much.
No breaks today.
No break. No break.
Yeah. All right, so we're getting at about an hour and 10 minutes, which it doesn't really feel like that. It was this conversation.
I know.
Going really well.
By.
Yeah, definitely. So, Erik, I'll put the link here. Definitely. Amy's been sharing the link out. Here's the link again. Check out Lady Darke on the Kickstarter. Consider backing it. It's going to be finished. Erik's a professional. He's made many, he's been doing comics for 10 years. So you're going to get this book. What's up?
So it ain't his first rodeo.
Yeah, exactly. And Erik, where's the best place people can interact with you? Is it Twitter?
Yeah, I'm most active on Twitter. So it's just @Radvon on Twitter. You can also find me on Facebook, and my website is radvon.com. You can check me out there.
Okay, perfect. And I'll put all those links in the description of the video. This will be live on the channel tomorrow. So if you didn't watch it live tonight, you can hit the replay. Johnny, you got anything going on? Anything you want to share with the audience tonight?
Nothing in particular, but I want to thank Erik for coming on. Thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate it. Thank you. It was great meeting you formally, even though we've probably crossed in paths, somewhere along the line. And thank you for introducing me to your character, Lady Darke, because I'm just back to campaign while we were talking here, and I'm looking forward to reading the story. I think it's going to be a book that kind of speaks to me directly, and I can't wait to read that.
Awesome. And speaking of conventions, before we go, hopefully they come back, huh? Well, we're still talking about I don't know if Plastic City. I mean, with the way the restrictions for Massachusetts are, I don't know if we're going to be able to do it this year. Because I don't want to do contact tracing. I don't want to restrict people. I just want to open the doors and have a good time at my show and not have to worry about that crap. So they've lifted some of the bans though, and the sporting events, things like that, are starting to open up. So I'll have to check because
I know
I'm giving myself the deadline of the end of April. If nothing is open at that point, or if it's not fully open, then I might cancel it because it's too much, to worry about.
I had AEW tickets for next month that got rescheduled for September now, and that seems like that's going to be the actual go date.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love AEW.
That's right. That's right. I forgot you're a wrestling guy.
Yeah.
Who do you like?
Best friends.
Yup. Who's your favorite, Erik? Real quick. Who do you like?
Man, I like I love Sting. So seeing Sting back on TNT is just like that brings out my inner fanboy. And then that dude that he's like mentoring is pretty cool.
Darby Allin.
He gets all like emo and like lurks in the corner and stuff. I'm like, nice. That's fine. And I like the dude who dresses up like a dinosaur. That guy's pretty cool too.
Oh, Luchasaurus, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of 80s wrestling. I kind of left when Undertaker came on the scene.
So, dude, you should check out AEW. It's got that old school flavor.
Does it? Okay. That's what I always thought wrestling and comics actually went hand in hand. Wouldn't you guys say?
Yeah.
There's definitely a weird crossover between the two worlds.
Oh, absolutely. Because
I always thought it would. The reason I always felt it, and this is just a quick aside about wrestling, is it always felt similar in the way like the wrestling story. They had the storylines, right? And then they would settle their differences in the ring as the culmination of the story. I mean, what does that sound like?
Yeah, totally.
So, I hadn't watched wrestling in a really long time, and then AEW debuted, and I do another podcast with Brian Lafferty. It's the Battle Wounds podcast, and he was very much talking about wrestling all the time, and I kind of like reabsorbed a lot of it, and then now I'm hooked. I'm totally into AEW. I love that they spend like a couple of months building up to the pay-per-view, which is like the payoff. It's almost like the Avengers, right? They they build up to Secret Wars, or they build up to the crossover story is, and that's pretty much what they're doing with these weekly events, and then the pay-per-view. On top of the fact that wrestling's kind of predetermined with some of their endings, but the stuff that you really watch for is the stuff that happens in between. Some of the moves they do are just completely just phenomenal. Ray Phoenix is one of my favorites right now. It's because this guy does flips like you would never believe. It's amazing.
Yeah, the athleticism and the sort of storytelling. It's just
characters.
It's this weird fusion. It's like nothing else. And being at a wrestling show is like nothing else. Keith, there's one thing I wanted to say before we wrap up here. It's about the convention, is that I've done a bunch of different Comic Cons, but Keith Gleason puts on the best Comic Con in the world.
Oh, thanks.
it's just like the best feeling at Plastic City Comic Con. You've got great pros. You've got J.M. DeMatteis. You've got Jerry Ordway. You've got all kinds of play. You've got Corin Nemec in the house. Stuff like that. But then you've got like artists like me, and Keith treats everybody equally. And so, Keith, you do a phenomenal job with the show. Whatever's going on with the pandemic, we're going to get through it, and Plastic City is going to be back bigger and badder than ever. And I'm telling artists I know, like, put this on your radar. Maybe Leominster, Mass is in some place, but call it your Greater Boston trip or whatever. It's totally going to be worth it. You'll connect with tons of fans. There's not this huge entry fee. There's not all this distraction stuff. So I find people come there looking to buy and read and engage, which is really cool. So love your show, man.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, and like I said, I hope by the end of next month things change, because Amy just posted that. What did she say? Massachusetts indoor events are currently limited to 100 attendees at a time, with name and phone number contact tracing. If I got to contact trace somebody, that list is gone the next day. It's already lost. I can't even. You know what I mean?
I don't want to call anybody.
I don't. Me either. Can you imagine trying to get a phone number from somebody? I'm gonna have Karen freakouts all over.
I was gonna say contact tracing the population of Fitchburg would be a pretty interesting adventure unto itself.
Yeah.
So.
God forbid
that's
any
true. That's true.
Soda out there.
What's it? What'd you say, Johnny?
God forbid if there's any expired soda in the mix.
Yeah, right.
We'll have to talk to the building manager.
Yeah, right. Which happened, but anyways. Well, the good thing about if I don't throw Plastic City, I don't count on that income, so it doesn't affect me the way it does like Mitch or some of the bigger guys like Gary there, where they count on that. It's just like a nice little side hustle, so if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. We'll be back next year in full force. So, we're watching it. We're going to probably make a decision late April, early May, probably. And then, probably won't have any big guests this year, but as long as we have artists and creators, I think we'll be fine,
Yeah,
so.
I agree with you there.
But, all right. Yeah. So, all right, let's wrap this up. Let's see. I think we're only one show next week, Johnny. I forget who, but thank God we're back to like one show a week.
Yeah. Let's see. I think that would be R.J. Carter.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay.
Next.
Yeah. He's an author. He wrote some of the Remo Williams books, so that'll be
that'll be kind of interesting. That'll be pretty cool.
Definitely. Yeah, I love that character. Speaking of pulp characters,
that was Adventures of Remo Williams was a movie with Fred Ward, right?
But that character has something insane, like 200 novels that
right.
Which Shane Black was supposed to update it for a new movie. I don't know whatever happened to that, but
that's right.
I was hoping that was going to happen. But anyways, so we'll have him next week, and then I think we're back to a weekly schedule up until mid-April or something, and then we're back to the bi-weekly, thank God. So, But thanks everybody for joining us. Come back next Wednesday. We'll have another episode of Indie Comics Relay. And until then, we'll talk to you later.
Thank you,
guys.
Eric.
Have a good night.
Thank you, guys.